Go down to the media room.
The news, and were you surprised at all?
Well, I mean, it was fairly recently when, when Mark and I talked. But, we informed the coaches last night and the players today. So, I'll leave it at that.
Was it your decision to stick around for the last 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, I felt like that was the right thing to do. I mean, obviously I've got a tremendous amount of respect for the Dolans and Mark Shapiro. And, the only thing I asked him, I'd like to know before we went to Boston. But regardless of, if they would have informed me 2 weeks ago or whatever, I'd still want to finish what we started this year. I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for the players. And, one thing we've always done here is we've always put the players, first. I didn't hear that. Where are we at?
How hard will it be to take the Chief Wahoo hat off for the last time?
Well, I've had, it's been a long run here, I guess, as managers go. And like I said, I've got a great deal of respect for the city of Cleveland and Tribe fans all over the place. And I'm a big believer in wearing the uniform with pride. And, I think that, in regard to, the Indians and this organization and, first and foremost the players, it'll be a tough day.
Eric, do you feel that with the expectation level so high, the slow starts in 08 and 09 might have been a determinant regardless of, what happened thereafter in terms of how this is perceived?
Well, I mean, I think it's how you finish, not how you start. I mean, obviously, we'd much rather get off to better starts than we did. But it didn't happen, and, I remember back in 05, at the All-Star break, nobody was giving us a shot at anything. We ended up, just missing it by a game, and obviously 07, we pretty much ran the gambit that year until the end. So, there are real factors that have led to this point in time. I understand that. The people that are in this organization understand that, and that's enough, for me.
Eric, you were here for a complete rebuild, and 2 Cy Young winners were traded. Did you get a full and complete shot here to win?
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, I'm the manager of the team. I mean, it's my job to go out there and win ball games. It's, there's not an asterisk next to it that says only if you have this or that or the other. It's your job to do that. I mean, I'm a big believer in being accountable for what you do, and I preach it to the players. I preach it to people around me. And, that's the way I live. So, I take, responsibility for this, no different than, that others in leadership roles in this organization do as well.
Eric, you've always been a no-excuse guy, and you touched upon this a bit, the challenges of managing a mid-market team where finances dictate almost every move. How difficult is that?
Well, it is more difficult, but it's also, and it's more challenging, but it's also more rewarding. I mean, what we came so close to doing in 07 is pretty special stuff, and, one thing about the Dolans, they've always allowed, Mark and myself as leaders in this organization to, to do what we feel is best, for this organization, for this team. And what I mean by that is, we wanted to do it, making a statement, in regard to how our players play, how they act, the way they represent the Cleveland Indians. The way they play the game, you always hear me talking about respecting the game and being a good teammate. They're the 2 most important things, I think, that you can do in this game. And then you've got to go out and play well on top of that. And there's not too many people out there. I think there's more people doing it now than when I started, 7 years ago. But I think there's not a whole lot of them that are playing it that way. And I think that you can do it. Yeah, it is more challenging. It is more difficult, but I do believe you can do it, and I believe they'll do it here one day as long as they keep their their leadership core intact. But along the way, there's some tough roads, and along the way it's even more difficult, for the fans to understand that, and I understand that.
Eric, you've had bad years and you've had good years, and fair or not, there's a perception that even the good years were bad just because of the way they finished. And Do you look back at those 2 years and players play, you can only do so much. Do you feel like you let it get through your fingers? Is there anything you could have done?
Well, you always look back and you learn from it. I mean, I would be a poor manager, a poor leader if I didn't learn from, ultimately every situation that I've been through in the past. So, whether it be good situations or bad situations, I look back and learn from it, without a doubt. I look at 93 wins and 96 wins as great accomplishments because I really do believe that the true ride is the regular season, with the exception of winning the World Series. That's it. I mean, for me, it goes from the regular season to winning the World Series. And that's what you're talking about because, outside of doing that, it's looked upon as a disappointment because ultimately you're going to lose that last game in the postseason, whatever last game that may be, and that's short of winning the World Series. So I've always felt like if you get into the playoffs, and I feel like with our teams here, with the way they play, the way they get after it, if you get in the playoffs, you got a shot. If we would have got in 05, we would have had a shot. Obviously, we had a real shot in 07 as well. So, anything outside of winning the World Series is ultimately looked upon as a disappointment.
Eric, have you given much thought at all yet to what's next for you?
I haven't. I'm a big believer of just keeping today in the forefront. We got 2 games to play today and 4 in Boston, and that's my number one concern right now. Is just finishing this thing off the right way. Putting the players first and foremost. It's a difficult time for them. I'm hoping that it's been a big elephant in the room for a while now, so I'm hoping that this will help free them up a little bit and allow them to just focus on playing baseball. And then in regard to my situation, we'll see what comes down the pike. The first thing I'm going to want to do is just spend some time with my family.
Eric, this is going to be a little specific, but
Sure.
In the last couple of years, do you feel philosophically, if you've had the type of personnel that allowed you to, again, philosophically play the game that you would like to play? In other words, put pressure on a defense, be able to move and start your offense. Have you had that type of personnel that you've been able to philosophically?
Well, you know what? I think that as a manager, you have to work off the players you have, and their talent base and their skills and their ability. I mean, whether a team going out there hitting home runs every night or your team going out there and you're running all over the place. I mean, I think that, that dictates how you manage, a baseball game. So it doesn't matter to me what type of team I have. I think it's my job to work off that and go out there and win as many games as possible. Again, real things have happened here. I mean, like I said, there are factors, that we've dealt with here in the last couple of years, and I understand them. There's no reason for us to talk about it, but it's led us to this point in time, and the right thing to do is to handle it appropriately, professionally, and then move on.
Eric, games 5, 6, and 7 against Boston, how much does that still linger in you and make you think what could have been?
I don't look at it. I know everybody does. I think it's part of being a fan. Looks at the last game. I look at the entire postseason. I look at the New York series. I look at the Boston series. I don't look at just the last game. I look at other games in that series as well. But I don't harp on it. I think that you can't harp on it, because if you harp on it, you don't get to the next level. I remember after 05, we got so close. We'll probably never get there again. I was like, bullshit. I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, that's not the way I look at it. We will get there, and we'll surpass that. And that's the way I look at it from 07 on. Now, granted, I'm not going to have the opportunity to do that here, but I hope for all Tribe fans that the next guy that sits in this chair does have an opportunity to do that. I gave you my one curse word for the day. Hoynesy, you better ask a question.
Eric, what kind of team is the new manager going to inherit here?
Well, obviously, you're going to have a lot of young talent. It's going to be inexperienced, but I think that what we're doing this year is really going to help them.